Everybody, what's going on? Jeff Rieger, another episode of the Daily Ticket. This one for a Thursday. It's the 7th. It's March, and we're getting oh so close, people. Oh so close to March Madness. I was listening all day on Wednesday to 97.1 The Ticket. I heard the morning show, Costa and Jansen, talking about the tournament like it sucks now. Like, I'm not going to say it's been the best year in college basketball, but it doesn't change anything for me. I don't think there's anything in sports that beats the Thursday and Friday of the dance. Sometimes it coincides with St. Patrick's Day, which makes it an unbelievable day, whether it's a Thursday, better Friday, right? But that Thursday and Friday to me is the best 2 days in all of sports, better than the Super Bowl, better than the conference championship games, better than the NFL playoffs, better than the Cup playoffs, better than the World Series, better than opening day. I know everybody has their preference, but the first 2 days, Thursday and Friday of March Madness, it's epic. The upsets, the buzzer beaters, the brackets, the busted brackets, the gambling. Oh, man, I love the gamble on the tournament. You ever been to Vegas for the tournament? It is fucking great. It's outrageously expensive, but it is so great. Can't wait. I don't care how down college basketball has been. How many times people say they're not going to watch. That Thursday and Friday. This is why guys schedule vasectomies on that Thursday and Friday. So they get the procedure done, then they can sit on the couch with a bag of frozen peas on their you-know-what all weekend long, don't have to move, and watch basketball. Like, that's what you do. I got to believe the vasectomy doctors, they should give out discounts for March Madness vasectomies. Get it on that Wednesday, you're good to go until Monday when you got to go back to work. Oh, man, I love the tournament. I love the tournament. I don't like when people try to trash the tournament, like I've heard over the last couple of days. But it's not what this podcast is about. I just thought I'd tell you. If you're forced to say pro-tournament, anti-tournament, I love it. I think it's fantastic. But let's move on with the show. Because the opposite of fantastic is what? Bad. Like really bad. Like horrific, correct? Every now and then, and I shouldn't do this because they don't mean a whole hell of a lot, but I do it anyway because it's just who I am. When I'm bored, maybe I'm like, I don't know, on the toilet, or just sitting around in my Barca lounger at home, I decide to look at spring training stats. I know it's stupid. I understand it's dumb. It doesn't really matter all that much. What people do in spring does not overlap usually into the regular season. Just because you kill it in spring doesn't mean you're going to have a great baseball season. But the one stat that popped out, and it's all over the place, by the way, now, if I wasn't looking myself, I would have saw it on social media. You've seen it, I guarantee, is the stat of Javier Baez. Javier Baez, since being a Tiger, has been absolutely awful. First year in 2022, he had 238 with a 671 OPS. And if you thought that's awful, he can't do any worse, you were wrong. Because the next year, which was last year, 222 batting average and a 593 OPS. That OPS, under 600, one of the three worst OPSs in the entire game of baseball. So I went on this podcast, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and I made a declaration. I said Javier Baez is going to bounce back in a big way because he can't get any worse. Like, I'm pretty sure it's mathematically impossible for Javy to have a worse season. And, you know, the coaches went out to Puerto Rico. He went to Lakeland. He got his body in shape. Like, he's ready to go. I saw a video of him hitting soft tosses all winter long. So he's got to be ready to go, right? So I made the declaration. I said, Javy's going to have a good season. People called me a moron and an idiot, but they usually do, so nothing new there. And then I saw this. I saw this stat for Javier Baez, and I said to myself, crap, this is not off to a good start. Javy's played in 6 spring training games. 6. All right. He's hitting 0. 0 hits. He's 0 for 12. He's struck out 6 times. He does have 1 RBI. He had a hard hit ball to, I think, left field. That scored a runner from third base. That's Javier Baez so far in the spring. Tigers didn't play yesterday, so he's still hitting 0. Now, I would assume he gets a hit in the spring, but who the hell am I? I can't assume anything with this man. I thought he would have a bounce back season. Shows you what I know. Like Javier Baez has got to be the worst signing in the history of Detroit sports. Am I correct about this? I think I am. You still owe him $100 million because he decided not to opt out after the first 2 seasons. What I just read you, he was absolutely dreadful. I think fans dislike Javi Baez, not because he's a mean guy. He's actually a really good guy, just because he stinks. And he's always chasing that slider. And you wonder why he can't have a lick of plate discipline. It drives you mad. It drives you bonkers. So, in honor of Javi making me look like a moron, going 0 for 12 in his first 6 games of the spring, I've decided to compile my list. And I want to see if you agree with me. It is the top 10 most disliked in Detroit. I don't want to say hate. Hate is such a strong word. Top 10 most disliked athletes in Detroit sports. I'm not doing Michigan State. So the 4 major teams doesn't have to be just a player. Could be a GM, could be a manager, could be a coach, could be the owner. I've compiled my list. I got some honorable mentions at the end in case your guy didn't make my list. And then I want you, if you'd be so kind, to comment back to me what I got wrong, who I missed, who I left out, who should be on, blah, blah, blah. All right? You want to do this? I'm very excited about this. By the way, in the meantime, while you wait for my list, can you please follow, download, subscribe to the Daily Ticket? Also, leave a review. I would greatly appreciate it. Number 10 on my list. I should have some music for this. Top 10 most disliked Detroit athletes of all time, or my lifetime, or really the last 25 years, whatever. I go Juan Gonzalez. Remember him? Juan Gonzalez actually did not have a bad year with the Tigers. Hit 289 and 842 OPS, 22 homers. That's not bad at all. He turned down this rumored $140 million contract. Thank God he turned it down. Because the next year he went to the Indians. He did hit 325, like a 960 OPS. But after that, right in the tank, was out of baseball 4 seasons later. You're talking about a dude that was one of the more feared hitters in all the major leagues. Came to Detroit actually as the first ever homer at Comerica Park. It was on a Friday night. I was at that game, believe it or not. I wish I would have caught that ball. Of course, I did not. But Juan Gonzalez didn't have an awful season. But he wasn't a good teammate. Never talked to the media. Didn't come through. And I think more than anything else, you traded 8 dudes for him just to open up a new ballpark. Juan Gonzalez, everything that he promised, a new era of Tiger baseball with a new ballpark included. You really thought he was going to be the guy that got you over the top, like Pudge did in 2006 eventually. Like Pudge Rodriguez, one of the greatest signings of all time. Yeah, you overpaid for him. Juan Gonzalez, awful trade, gave up way too much to get him. Only here for 1 year. You took your shot, didn't work out. He went elsewhere and was out of baseball not too long after he left Detroit. Juan Gonzalez, number 10 on my list. Number 9, I go Scott Mitchell. Scott Mitchell got him from Miami. Do you remember how good he was as Dan Marino's backup? Like for a couple of games. And all of Detroit said, oh, we got our quarterback, baby. 1995, Lions won 7 in a row. Scotty threw over 4,000 yards, 32 touchdowns to 12 picks. He was in Detroit the next 3 years, never able to duplicate that success. In fact, the following year, he threw 17 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. Go back to the Barry documentary that you saw on Amazon. There's video of Wayne Font saying, oh, yeah, we were trying to get Marino. We were trying to get Montana, kind of had to settle for Scott Mitchell. Scott got very upset at those comments. He went to his local Facebook. I think he's working in Utah radio as I speak. He was not very happy at all that Barry stole all the attention. I remember a playoff game where Scott kind of fainted. I remember Scott dressing up as Wayne Fonts at a Christmas party. I do believe Lomas Brown did not like Scott Mitchell, so he intentionally missed the block that could have knocked Scott out of the game. Scott Mitchell, not beloved by Lions players and definitely not beloved by Lions fans. Had that really good year in 95, all downhill from there. I got Scott Mitchell as number 9. Number 8, I only put this man on my list because of peer pressure. I don't think he belongs on this list. And I'm also part of the reason he's no longer here. Prince Fielder, number 8. You ever go back and look at Prince's time in Detroit? 2 years, 12, 13. Probably responsible at least a little bit for Miggy winning the Triple Crown. Year 1, a 940 OPS. Year 2, an 819 OPS. Year 1, he hit 313. Year 2, a 279 batting average. He had 18 hits in 5 series in the playoffs. Also stole a nacho off a guy's plate. And also belly flopped in the third base in game 2 of what was it? The World Series in 2012. Like, Prince Fielder was good in Detroit. He was very good in Detroit. Signed that massive $214 million contract. And then after 2 seasons, he was traded away. Why was he traded away? Pretty sure it was my fault. Tigers had just lost to the Red Sox in 6 games in the ALCS in 2013. And we were talking about the series and losing. And he uttered the words, "I got kids, man." And I asked him, I'm like, what do you mean by that exactly? Like, you got kids, but a lot of Tiger fans are demoralized that you did not win this series and with a great team aren't going to the World Series. And he said, quote, "You got to be a man about it, you know? I got kids, like I said. If I'm sitting around pouting, how am I going to tell them to keep their chins up or keep their heads up when something doesn't go their way? So yeah, definitely, it's over. You shouldn't take your work home with you, you know? I still have to be a father, take care of my kids. So you have to move on." Now, Dave Dombrowski, to Baseball Insiders, admitted those comments, part of the reason Prince Fielder got traded for Ian Kinsler. I think Prince was great in Detroit, despite me taking a little of the blame for getting him out of Detroit by asking him those questions. But Prince Fielder, number 8 on my list. I don't think he should be on this list, but I know y'all probably don't like him very much, so I got him at number 8. Number 7 on my list, I go Ndamukong Suh. Suh was awesome in that Big 12 title game for Nebraska. Everybody watched it. Everybody wanted to draft him. The Lions did draft him. I thought he was a good Lion. I really did, but he never wanted to be here. Got out of Detroit the first chance that he got. Mike Valeni, the afternoon show, I remember he talked to him weekly. Suh hung up on him one time. I remember Suh got in trouble for the whole stomping of Aaron Rodgers. I didn't mind that at all. Nobody in Detroit did. I think we all thought we had a pretty good team when Suh and Nick Fairley were on that defensive line. Lions ended up losing to Dallas. That was when they picked up the flag. But from the get-go, Detroiters love a great talent, but they don't love a guy that doesn't want to be here. And remember Suh at the draft, his sister saying essentially, whatever gets us out of Detroit the quickest, we're interested in. And he eventually left. And rumor was he wanted to come back this season to help the Lions, and the Lions said, no, we're not interested. But Suh, number 7. We love this talent. Nobody loved his attitude, though. Number 6 on my list, Joe Nathan, Tigers closer. Detroit needed a closer so bad. He was one of the best in the game for the Rangers before Dave Dombrowski went out and got him. He's 39 years old. Looked really good early on in the season. Finished with a 4.81 ERA, 4.5 walks per 9. He did end up with 35 saves somehow, some way, which I did not remember. But more than anything, Joe Nathan did this. He did the chin flick to all of Detroit, which is essentially telling Detroit to fuck off. Joe Nathan, my number 6 most disliked Detroit athlete. Number 5, Darko. Not his fault. Not his fault he got drafted 2nd overall. But, man, you could have had Wade. You could have had Mello. You could have had Bosch. You got Darko. Number 5 on my list. Number 4, Eric Ebron. Eric Ebron, the 10th overall pick of the draft. You could have had Aaron Donald. Dropped a ton of passes, never lived up to his ability, and more than anything else, man, he made some enemies on social media. Do you remember Mike Sullivan, who used to work at 97, won the ticket? Remember Ebron and Sully going at each other? Ebron trashing Detroit. Ebron trashing the Lions team. Ebron trashing Sully. Like, that dude didn't care. He went on social media. He always said stuff he probably should not have. But more than anything, he was never a difference maker. You draft a guy 10th overall, you expect him to catch a lot of touchdown passes from the tight end position. More than anything, too, you judge a first-round pick by if they pick up your fifth-year option. Bob Quinn, who drafted him, said, nope, we're not interested. Eric Ebron, nobody liked him. Not a likable guy. Then went to Pittsburgh. Played a little better, I thought, for a little while. Now is out of the NFL. Eric Ebron, number 4, most disliked Detroit athlete. Let's go to number 3. I wish I had a pencil. Here, hold on a sec. It's a pen, but you get the picture. There you go. If you're watching this on YouTube. Matt Patricia. Always with his Ticonderoga number 2 in his ear. Always had the laminate. His play calling laminate. Now, he had a pencil in his ear, but his play call sheet was laminated. So it's not like he could use the pencil to write anything down on his play call sheet. What a bum Matt Patricia was. Remember the dissertation that he wrote because he wanted to tell Detroit that it was okay that his guys were practicing outside? It was like 100 pages. All he had to say was like, we decided to practice outside. I'm the coach. Suck it. Like, that's all he had to say. Remember Matt Patricia saying he's responsible for the greatest defensive play in Super Bowl history, the Malcolm Butler pick off Russell Wilson? Remember that? Now, Seattle is responsible because they should have ran beast mode. They decided not to. Butler knew exactly where the ball was going, picked it off. Patriots ended up winning the Super Bowl. They beat Seattle. But Patricia took credit for that. But more than anything, the guy was such a bad, awful coach. Blew up a decent team that Jim Caldwell left. Had to have his own guys. They all failed. He had no idea how to draft, and Bob Quinn didn't either. He had no idea how to go get a free agent that would actually be good in Detroit. Matt Patricia was a train wreck, an absolute travesty. And I'll never forget the feeling I had about Sheila Ford Hamp when she brought both Quinn and Patricia back and then ended up firing them after the Thanksgiving loss. I think it was to the Texans. Matt Patricia was so easy to dislike. And then, of course, he bounced around the league. He went to New England, ended up in Philly. And for some reason or another, Nick Sirianni handed his defense over to Matt Patricia. And what happened? Oh, yeah, the Eagles totally went in the tank. Nice job, Matt. Remember, he was a rocket scientist, went to RPI, always the smartest man in the room, except none of his coaching tactics worked. What a bum of a coach. Matt Patricia, number 3, most disliked person in Detroit sports. Number 2, hard to believe you can dislike somebody more than Matt Patricia, but it's Matt Millen. Like, I don't need to tell you anything more here. Matt Millen. Yeah, Matt Millen. Then they extended Matt Millen. Remember the Millen Man March? It was because of that man. Matt Millen. Awful. Worst front office person in the history of sports. And one of the most disliked people in Detroit sports ever. Matt Millen, number 2. So I know what you're thinking. Well, who the hell can beat Matt Millen? Who can beat Matt Millen? This is where the controversy sets in. When you do one of these lists, you expect people to disagree. Sometimes you throw one in there just to get people talking. I truly believe my number 1. I truly believe it. You might not. My number 1 most disliked person in Detroit sports, it's Al Avila. Al Avila, very nice guy. Very nice guy indeed. But man, did he stink as a GM. And I know a lot of people want to give him credit for some of the guys that actually now seem to be coming up with the team and having some success. Like Jackson Jobe eventually is going to be pitching for the Tigers, and he was an Al Avila pick. But don't let that fool you. He made awful trades. He had Justin Verlander to trade away, J.D. Martinez, Ian Kinsler, Justin Upton. What did he get for those players? Like Alex Lange, I think, is it. What did he get? Nick Castellanos, he traded away. Didn't get anything for him either. Like, honestly, Al Avila failed with trades. He was given $500 million to spend on free agents. You got the likes of Javier Baez, Eduardo Rodriguez, Jordan Zimmerman, Mark Lowe. Like, those guys stunk too. And let's not forget about what I believe was his crown jewel transaction. Austin Meadows for Isaac Paredes. Now, it's sad to hear what Meadows is going through. He deals with depression, and we all hope he's going to be okay. It seems really bad. However, shouldn't you have realized Isaac Paredes was this good? He's a third baseman. He's got all kinds of power. In Detroit, he never could do anything he did in Tampa. And I know what you're going to say. Well, Tampa's a better organization. They know how to develop people. That's fair. But your job is to develop people as well. Al Avila failed at every turn. Got an extension. Should not have. Awful GM. Nice guy. Like super nice guy. That's why I usually feel bad talking crap about him. But such a nice dude. Just a horrific front office man. Al Avila, number one. Who'd I miss? Let me know. Comment section. Let me give you my honorable mentions very quickly. Brad Ausmus, Brandon Inge, Ryan Rayburn, Troy Weaver, Tom Gores, Andre Drummond, Reggie Jackson, Aaron Ward, and Riley Shahan. Who'd I miss? Let me know in the comment section. I promised we would read comments today, but it's 5:48. I literally got to go do a radio show, so no comments today. All the comments tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for watching the Daily Ticket. Let me know who I missed. Who is the all-time most disliked person in Detroit sports? Was it one of the 10 I listed? Was it one of my honorable mentions? Or did I totally miss somebody? Let me know. In the meantime, we'll catch you tomorrow on a Friday. Have a great day, everybody. See ya.